Hi Sewmate, welcome back to my channel. It's Needles by Tiara here. In today's tutorial, I am going to be teaching you how to draft and cut this beautiful Dartless sheer transparent cup corset as displayed on the thumbnail. So on our last video, we learned how to draft the basic parts of our Dartless corset, and in today's tutorial I am going to be teaching you how to draft the cup and how to transfer it into your already drafted pattern. So if you have not watched the part 1 of this video, I would urge you to do that, and I am going to be dropping the link on the description box down below. So without no further ado, let's dive right into it. So first thing first, we'd go ahead to draft out our cup. So for the drafting of your cup, you're going to be needing your pattern paper well laid out, which is exactly what I have at this point. So for the width and the length of your pattern paper, you're going to be cutting out a pattern paper length of 11 inches and a pattern paper width of 11 inches. So by that I mean you're going to be cutting out a width of 11 inches and a length of 11 inches. Having done that, now you'd go in with your straight ruler and you'd go ahead to mark out your starting line at this point. So this point right here is going to serve as our over bust point line. With the reintroduction of our straight ruler all over again, we'd go ahead to mark out a straight line at this point. So we have our over bust point line, which happens to be our starting line, and the other line which happens to be our center front line. Now moving on, remember while we were drafting our pattern, we took off an off shoulder point of 7 inches. So my off shoulder was 7 inches. You could equally call it your over bust point. So my client over bust point or my client off shoulder was 7 inches. So that's 7 inches that we highlighted on our already drafted pattern, which was the part 1 of this video. You're going to place that 7 inches exactly at that starting line and chalk down the distance between your client's over bust point to bust point and your client's over bust point to your under bust point, which is exactly what you're seeing at this point. So to get the consistency and the accuracy of a straight line, I'll take that measurement all over to this point. Over bust point to bust point, over bust point to under bust. With the reintroduction of my straight ruler, I would go in with my straight ruler and connect all those points into each other to form a straight line. Please do kindly ensure that all of your connection stops at that starting line, which we have at that point. Just go in with your straight ruler and roll all those points into each other to form your basic straight line. We have our bust point and lastly our under bust point. So with that being done, now we'll go ahead to label our pattern. So please pay attention. This right here is my center front and this over here is my over bust point line. So you could call it your off shoulder point or your over bust. This is my bust point line, and lastly this is my under bust point line. Now having labeled our pattern, remember like I said, all of your measurements is going to be starting from that point. We have our center front, over bust, bust point and under bust. Kindly take note. So all of your measurements is going to be starting from that line. So you're going to divide your nipple to nipple into 2. So your bust span is your nipple to nipple. Go ahead to divide that measurement into 2. Mine is 9 inches divided by 2, which is 4.5 inches. On my bust point, I would go ahead to impute that value, which is what you're seeing at that point. Now I'm going to take that measurement all the way up to my over bust points and all the way down to my under bust point, which is this. So with that being done, we'd go in with our straight ruler, connecting all those points into each other to form our basic straight line. So having imputed your nipple to nipple divided by 2 at your center front, the other side of your pattern is your side front. Remember on this point we divided our nipple to nipple by 2, which we did chalk down at this point. Now at the side front, because the bust is fuller on the side, you'd have to add, if your client is on a bigger side, you'd go ahead to add 1 inch to that measurement and chalk it down at that point. But if your client is not on a bigger side, please go ahead to add 0.5 inch to that measurement and chalk it down at that point. So my client is on a big side. I've gone ahead to add 1 inch to my nipple to nipple divided by 2 and chalk it down at the bust point of my side front. I hope you understand. So you're going to be taking that measurement to your over bust point and lastly your under bust point line. With that being done, reintroduce your straight ruler and connect all those points into each other to form your basic straight line. I hope you understand. So this part right here is our side front. So we have our center front and we have our side front. Moving on to your under bust, we'd have to impute our under bust tightening. So to impute our under bust tightening, at the center front of my under bust, you'd go ahead to chalk down 1.25, and at the side front, still at your under bust, you'd go ahead to chalk down 1.25 as well. So 1.25 on both sides of your under bust leg. I hope you understand. Having done that, now at your bust point line, place your tape and come down at that point by 1 inch. And now at the center front line, still at the bust point rather, go ahead to chalk down 1 inch as well. Lastly, at the side front, still at your bust point, go ahead to chalk down 1 inch as well at that point. Having imputed 1 inch on all the sides, like I said earlier on, come down here by 1 inch, and at this point, come in by 1 inch, and at that point, go out by 1 inch. So it is very important and crucial. Please kindly take note. With that being done, we'd go in with our curve ruler, connecting from our under bust tightening up to the 1 inch we came down with on our bust point. So we're going to do that both for the center front and the side front of our under bust point. Please kindly pay attention to the way my curve ruler is being placed and do go ahead to replicate same for yours. So having imputed our under bust tightening for our center front, we'd go ahead to impute that curve for our side front. Having done this, we've successfully imputed our under bust curve and our under bust tightening. Now to the center front, still on your bust point line, you're going to place your tape on that line at your center front and come up by 0.5 inch. Now you're going to be imputing that same value on your side front. So go ahead to place your tape on your bust point at your side front and come up by 0.5 inch as well. So with that being done, now you're going to place your tape at that point, your bust point, and come down at this point by 1.5 inches for your center front. Now for your side front, place your tape on your bust point and come down by 1.5 inches as well. So with that being done, now you're going to go in with your slightly curved ruler, connecting from the upper part of your center front, that of 0.5 inch, into the 1 inch that you came out with on all the points. So the points, remember, we came out by 1 inch on both our center front, side front, and lastly our under bust. So you're going to be making your connection from the dart imputed on the center front down to that 1 inch. Having done that for the center front upper part of our darts, now we'd go ahead to replicate that same process for our side front. So please pay attention to the way my curve ruler is being placed. It is very, very important. So with that being done, now we'd go ahead to place our slightly curved ruler as well from the 1.5 inches that we came down with on both our center front and our side front. We're going to be making the connection down to that 1 inch that we came out with on our bust point. So please, it is very important that you have to pay attention to the way my slightly curved ruler is being placed at this point. It is very, very important. Having done that for the center front, now for our side front, we'd go ahead to replicate that same process. Place your slightly curved ruler from that 1 inch that you came out with on your bust point down to the 1.5 inches that you had imputed at that point. Having imputed our under bust tightening, center front tightening, and our side front dart tightening, now we'd go ahead to draw out our basic cup curve. So to do that, we're going to go in with our curve ruler. We're going to be connecting from the 1.25 imputed at our under bust point up to the 1.5 inches imputed at the side front for our dart. Please pay attention to the way my curve ruler is being placed. You're not going to be placing it this way. You're going to tilt your curve ruler this way. It is very, very important. And go ahead to make your basic curve at that point. So having done that for our center front cup curve, we're going to replicate that same process for our side front cup curve. So like I said earlier on, please, you have to pay attention to the way my curve ruler is being placed at every point. So having imputed our basic cup curve for both our center front and our side front, now we'd move ahead to impute our basic cup curve as well for our over bust point line. Now to do that, you're going to place your tape from that point, and you're going to come up at that point by either 2 inches or 2.5 inches. It totally depends on your preference. Please ensure that you're placing your tape from that starting line, which demarcates the upper side of your center front from the lower side of your center front, which happens to be your bust point. I came up at that point by 2.5 inches. Now on my side front, place your tape from your bust point and come up at that point by 3 inches. Having done that, like I said earlier on, I did place my tape from my bust point and came up by 2.5 inches for my center front. For my side front, I came up by 3 inches. With the reintroduction of my slightly curved ruler, I am going to be connecting all those points into our dart line. So to do that, place your slightly curved ruler this way. Connect from the 2.5 inches imputed on your center front into the midpoint, which happens to be your dart line, which is your nipple to nipple divided by 2. Now for our side front, we'd go ahead to basically replicate that same process. So the aim of this is to achieve a bit of a sweetheart cup curve at that point. We do not want it entirely coming out looking straight. I hope you understand. So with that being done, we've successfully imputed our over bust cup curve, which is basically what you're seeing at that point. Now place your tape at your over bust point, coming at that point by 0.5 inch at your center front, still at your over bust point for your side fronts, coming at that point by 0.5 inch as well. With the reintroduction of our straight ruler, we're going to be connecting from the 0.5 inch down to the 0.5 inch that we came up with on our center front bust point. I hope you understand. So that is how you're going to be making your connection at that point. And now for our side front, we'd go ahead to replicate that same process as well. So like I said, ensure that all of your connection stops at the 0.5 inch that you came up with at your bust point for both your center front and your side front. So with this being done, our cup is ready. So our cup is partly ready at this point. So the next thing we'd go ahead to do is to eliminate all the basic darts off from our pattern. But before we do that, we'd first of all go in with our marker to highlight all the points. So this right here is my upside, and this right here is my downside. Over here is my center front. This is my side front. And of course, please go ahead to make some arrows at those points. So please just basically go ahead to label your pattern in a way that you can understand perfectly. So go ahead to make your arrow, your up, your down, your bust point on 2 sides. Make those arrow at those points. It is very, very important. The up and the down side of your under bust. So please basically go ahead to label this pattern in such a way that you can understand perfectly. The reason for this is so that by the time we're done eliminating all of our darts off from our pattern, we would not get it mixed up or confused at any given point. I hope you understand. So with that being done, we're going with our red marker and we're going to be shading off the points that we're going to be taking off from our pattern. Our center front dart we're going to be eliminating, our side front dart, and lastly our under bust dart. So these are all of the basic darts that we're going to be taking off from our pattern. So with this being said, we'd go in with our scissors and we'd go ahead to eliminate all of the darts, which is the under bust dart, center front dart, and our side front dart. So at this point, just sit back and watch while I take you through the process of eliminating all of our excesses off from our ready drafted cup. So please pay attention to all of the points that I'm taking off from the pattern. It is very important and crucial. So having done this, now the next thing we'd go ahead to do is we're going to separate the upper part of our 3-part cup from the lower part of our 3-part cup. So to do that, we're going to slash through this point. Having done that, now let's go ahead to work on the lower part of our 3-part cup. So we'd go ahead to take it from our under bust point all the way up this way. So go ahead to slash open from this point. Having done that, go in with your scissors and take off the dart that we have on both the center front and the under bust point, which is basically what I am doing. So with that being done for this point, now would go ahead to replicate that same process for the side front as well. Go ahead to take off your under bust dart, which is basically what I'm doing. Go ahead to take off your side cup curve, which is exactly what I'm doing, the excesses at that point, and equally your side front dart, which is basically what I'm doing. So having eliminated all the excesses and the darts that we have at the lower piece of our 3-piece cup, now we'd go ahead to eliminate all the darts that we have at the upper part of our 3-piece cup as well. So please basically just sit back and watch, and do go ahead to replicate. Same for yours as well. So having eliminated all our darts and the excesses at every given point, you can see how beautiful our cup is taking a very beautiful shape at this point. So this right here is the more reason why I said you'd have to label your pattern at every given point, center front to center front, your side front to side front, your up, your down, your 2 bust points, every joining point, your under bust. These are all the basic points that you'd need to take note of, and the only way you can do that is by labeling it, so that by the time you're done, you're not going to get it mixed up or confused. I hope you understand. So with that being said, we'd go ahead to join back all of our basic pattern. So now for all your required sewing allowance, you're going to be adding 0.5 inch at this point, 0.5 inch and 0.5 inch at this point as well. On the sides, you're going to be adding 1 inch all the way round. So the only point that is going to carry the 1 inch all the way around has to be the side of both your center front, your side front, the over bust point and the under bust point. But the midpoint that connects the bust point all together happens to be 0.5 inch all the way around. I hope you understand. So with that being done, we'll go ahead to keep this aside. Now you're going to introduce your masking tape and hold down all the points of your pattern. Having placed my masking tape on my pattern, now you're going to bring the side front of the lower piece of your 3-piece cup, and now you're going to align it bust point to bust point. So take note, like I said, you're going to align from the bust point. You can see those points, we made 2 arrows. That is our bust point line, and you're going to be basically placing it side by side, ensuring that it is very close to each other, and you can see how beautiful this turned out. Now we're going to flip this to the right side, which is basically what I'm trying to do at this point. Just head over and flip it to the right side this way, and you can see the beautiful shape the lower part of our 3-piece cup is taking. So please take note of your under bust point and your bust point line. Now moving on to the upper part of our 3-piece cup, you're going to align the midpoint of that line to the midpoint of the lower piece. But before you do that, you need to take note of your center front and your side front. Before we go ahead to do that, let's go ahead to notch every point of our masking tape. So this is to ensure that point is well relaxed once we're joining this together. So go ahead to just fold your pattern basically this way. Like I said, you're going to ensure that the midpoint of the lower piece aligns with the midpoint of the upper piece on the bust point line, which is basically what I'm doing. Having done that, now you gradually take it all the way around. So you're not going to overlap your pattern on each other, rather you're just going to place it side by side, very close to each other. So to make this much easier to, basically mask it down, just go ahead to flip it to the right hand side this way and take it evenly all the way down. Now take from the midpoint of the side front and go ahead to take it all the way down this way as well. So with this being done, our cup is ready. You can see how beautiful our cup is already taking shape. Now we'd go ahead to take off the excess masking tape that we have at that point. Now head over to flip your pattern to the right hand side, which is basically what I'm doing at this point, and voila, our 3-part cup is ready. You can see how beautiful. Look at the depth, look at the consistency, look at how the under bust point flows evenly down to the center front at the over bust point and evenly down to the side front at the over bust point. Look at how beautiful the standing shape. Look at how the under bust point is seated very beautifully. The This is the more reason why I said you should ensure that your pattern is well labeled, your center front, your side front, your under bust. Ensure that this is your center front to your center front, and ensure that this point is your side front to your side front, and your two bust point is meeting at that point. Look at how beautiful our over bust point is seated at that point. Our cup is looking very pretty at this point. This is definitely what you'd want to achieve, having followed through the process, and of course you've gotten it right. So with that being said, we're going to transfer our cup now into our already drafted Dartless corset pattern. So just like we did earlier on the first video, which happens to be the part 1 of this video, remember we drafted the front pattern, which is this, and we drafted the back pattern, which is this. So please, if you have not watched the part 1 of this video, please head over to my comment section and you're definitely going to see the link that is going to be taking you to that video. With that being said, please take notes. Your center front and your side front, your two bust points, the midpoint of your 3-piece cup, you'd have to take note of those basic points. Now we have our over bust point as well, and you can see how pretty our under bust point is seated at that point. Now the next thing we'd go ahead to do is we're going to transfer this into our already drafted Dartless corset, like I said earlier on. So now this is already drafted Dartless corset. Remember, this part has to be on fold, which happens to be the center front of our pattern. Now let's go ahead to label. This is the center front and this is the side front. So the folded part of your pattern paper is your center front and the other point is your side front. Kindly take note. Now bringing back my cup, you're going to align, take note of your under bust point and your over bust point, your center front and your side front. So like we labeled on our pattern, the folded part, like I said, is going to be the center front, and your cup, which is the center front part, is going to be situated at that point, and the side front is going to be situated at the side front as well. Now remember, at this point we did divided our nipple to nipple by 2 and we chalked it down at that point. So that line you're seeing right there happens to be our nipple to nipple divided by 2. Mine was 4.5 inches, having divided it by 2, and we imputed it from our under bust point line. Now you're going to place your tape at that point and come up by 0.5 inch at that point, going with your straight ruler, and connect that point all the way up. So the reason for doing this is to achieve a push-up effect at that point. This is one of the tricks that works 100% all the time. So just come up at that point from your under bust point by 0.5 inch. Having done that, now we're going to incorporate our cup into our pattern. So please kindly take note. The under bust point of your cup is going to be situated at that 0.5 inch point at your under bust point that you came up with. I hope you understand. And the side front is going to be facing the folded part of the pattern paper, which is your center front for your basic Dartless corset. So at this point, please go ahead to arrange your cup this way. Ensure that the under bust point of your cup sits exactly at the 0.5 inch that you came up with at your under bust point. Center front of your cup must sit exactly at the bust breach of the 0.5 inch which you imputed at that point. So that line you're seeing that right there is our bust breach, that blue line. So please ensure that the center front of your cup sits exactly at that bust breach, and the under bust point of your cup sits exactly at the 0.5 inch that we came up with at our under bust point. Same is applicable with the side front. Ensure that your cup is properly placed at this point. With that being done, we'd go in with our masking tape and would go ahead to hold it down. So while doing this, be very careful so that your pattern doesn't shift. Ensure that your cup sits properly at your under bust point, which is exactly this. Now at the side front, please ensure that your cup sits exactly at the bust breach of 0.5 inch, which we highlighted with our blue marker at that point. So just be careful and ensure that it is well placed at this point. Do not be in a hurry. Just take your time while at this. So with that being done for our center front and our under bust, to our side front, would go ahead to replicate that same process. Just be careful and take your time while at this. So with this being done, our cup has been held down to our dartless corset. So now please, I need you to take notes. So remember that the distance between our client's shoulder to over bust point was 7 inches. Our over bust point, like I said, is equally known as our off shoulder point. So the distance that we took was 7 inches, which we equally imputed that same distance on our cup when we were drafting the cup. So at this point, you could notice, or you can see clearly, that our cup has shifted from that 7 inches all the way down. So this is evenly influenced by the fact that we took out for our side darts on both the center front and the side front. While drafting the cup, we eliminated 2 inches off from both sides. So on the center front, we took out 2 inches, and at the side front, we took out 2 inches to achieve this beautiful deep cup. So that is the reason why you're seeing that shift at that point. So regardless of the shifts, I need you to understand that it is very much okay. There is absolutely no need to worry about anything. So your pattern is very perfect as it is at this point. So moving on, we'll go ahead to draw out the cup curve that we have on our cup. So we're going to transfer the cup curve that we have on this cup into our pattern. So to do that, I am going to gradually take it from this point, which happens to be my center front, all the way down to my under bust point, following the cup curve that I have imputed on my already drafted 3 parts bust cup. I hope you understand. So you're going to take it gradually all the way down. While at this, please ensure that exactly what you have as your cup curve is what you're going to be transferring exactly same into your dartless corset pattern, which we have at this point. I hope you understand. So having done that, now the next thing we'd go ahead to do is at the side front, which happens to be this point. So wherever the length of your side front stops at, which mine is this point, you're going to go ahead to extend that line all the way into your chest point this way. Just go ahead to make a connection of a straight line into your chest point this way. Having transferred this point all the way into our pattern, now we'll go ahead to trace out our over bust point cup curve at this point. So to do that, I am going to go in with my pencil, and I'm gradually going to take it all the way from my side front into my chest point, following the cup curve that I have at that point. So please take your time while at this. You need to ensure that exactly what you have, the sweetheart neckline that you have on your cup at this point, is exact same curve that you're going to be transferring into your pattern, which is exactly what I'm doing. Ensure that it is exact same curve at that point. Having done that, like I said earlier on, blend this all the way in. So with this being done, we've successfully transferred our cup into our pattern. So you're gently going to go ahead to take off your masking tape this way. So go ahead to smoothen out that curve, make that connection very, very visible and clear at that point. So with that being done, we'd go ahead to take off our masking tape, which is exactly what I am doing at this point. Having done that, we'd go ahead to take out our cup this way. So you can see how beautiful and well transferred our cup has been transferred into our pattern. Look at how beautiful it is at this point. So we'd go in with our marker and would go ahead to re-highlight all those points. This point is entirely optional. I want it to be very clear and visible at this point, hence the reason for this. I hope you understand. So if you have watched this video to this point, it certainly means that you're getting value of your time well spent on this video. As a little way of encouraging us to do more for the sewing community, kindly hit on the subscription button, like, share and follow for more of this related content. So having highlighted your curve with your marker, now this point right here, where the part where your side front stops at, would go ahead to impute that same value for the back pattern of our corset, so that both the front pattern and the back pattern can align perfectly on both sides, having eliminated the yoke. So go ahead to measure out the distance between your chest point to that point. Having done that, on your back pattern, place your tape from your chest point and come down by that distance. Having done that, go in with your straight ruler and connect that point into each other to form your basic straight line. With that being done, go ahead to label this point to be your new chest point. So this right here is our new chest point, for both our front pattern and our back pattern. So if you do not want it to be entirely straight, you can place your tape at that point and come down by 0.5 inch, go in with your straight ruler and reconnect from that 0.5 inch all the way into your new chest point to have a bit of a slanted curve at your back pattern. That is in case you do not want it coming out entirely straight. Whichever way is very much okay. With that being done, I'm going to bring back my pattern and ensure that it sits beautifully, perfectly, and all the points aligns perfectly at this point. Having done that, now we'd go in with our scissors and would go ahead to eliminate all the excesses off from our pattern. So I am going to be taking from this point right here, which happens to be the full length of my corset. I am going to be taking it all the way down here. So like I said earlier on, all the highlighted points with my marker is the points that we're going to be taking, that we're going to be tracing out from our pattern, which is exactly what I am doing at this point. So gently take it from this point all the way up here. Now go ahead to eliminate the excess at your shoulder point, which is exactly what I'm doing at this point. Having done that, go ahead to separate your front pattern from your back pattern by cutting through the midpoint of that line. So having separated our front pattern from our back pattern, now we'll go ahead to cut out the excess that we have on our neckline, which is exactly what I'm doing at this point. Now go ahead to take off your shoulder slope and go ahead to cut through your armhole, taking it all the way down this way. So with this being done, we've successfully eliminated the excesses for our front pattern rather. Now we'd go ahead to replicate that same process on our back pattern. Take off your neckline, go ahead to take off your shoulder slope, which is this. Go ahead to cut through the armhole point of your back pattern. Go ahead to follow out the armhole curves at that point all the way down here. So at this point, I won't have to say much. Just sit back and watch while I take you through that process. So having eliminated all the side excesses, which is exactly what you're seeing at this point, now we'll move ahead to detach the yoke from the lower base of our corset. So at this point, where your center front point stops, the cup stops at, just go ahead to blend it all the way into the bust bridge. Having done that, now go in with your scissors and would go ahead to detach the lower part of our corset from the yoke so that we could equally take off the bust curve that we have at that point. So to do that, just go in with your scissors and go ahead to take off from all the highlighted points we did with our marker at that point. I hope you understand. Having detached your yoke from your lower base, now would go in with our scissors and would go ahead to take out the cup curve that we did transferred into our dartless corset. So to do that, you're going to carefully take from one side of that cup curve all the way down to the other. Take from your center front up to your side front. Be careful and ensure that you're cutting out exactly the same curve that you had imputed at that point. That being done, this right here is no longer valid, so we're going to keep this aside and we're going to be replacing that point with our cup. So you can see how beautiful and how pretty our cup is seated at that point. This is definitely what you'd want to achieve for yours as well. So with that being said, we're going to keep this aside while we work on the back pattern. Back pattern would go in with our straight ruler and we're going to be extending the depth of our yoke all the way into our corset back opening this way. So that point right there is the point that demarcates the yoke from the lower base of our corset. So now we'd go in with our scissors and would go ahead to cut out the new chest point line, which is exactly what we did at this point. With that being done, go ahead to take off the excess that we have at the keyhole neck point of our back pattern. I hope you understand. With that being said, now we'd go ahead to eliminate the corset back opening that we have imputed at this point. So just go ahead to eliminate the corset back opening that you have at that point. So having eliminated the excesses at that point, which is our corset back opening, like I said earlier on, you could either choose to use the straight part of it or you could use the slanted part of it. So I'm going to be using a bit of a slanted point, hence the reason why I'm taking off that excess at that point. And voila, our dartless corset is ready. Look how beautiful this turned out looking. Our front yoke, our back yoke, our front pattern, our back pattern, everything is given and more at this point. You could see how our cup is seated very beautifully, how it sits very pretty on the bust bridge, how it flows from the center front to the underbust, from the underbust to the side front, from the chest point to the waist point to the full corset length point, and how it flows all the way down. This is beautiful, and this is certainly what you'd want to achieve, having followed through the process, and of course you've gotten it right. Now you can see how the hemline of the front pattern aligns with the hemline of the back pattern. You definitely want to achieve this as well. Look at how the back pattern flows evenly all the way down to the center front. This is very beautiful, and this is certainly what you'd want to achieve as well. Back pattern, you can see the well eliminated corset back opening at that point. You definitely want to achieve that. Our keyhole neckline for our back yoke, this is very beautiful. You can see the yoke part of our back pattern and the yoke part of our front pattern. So now for your required sewing allowance, you're going to be adding 0.5 inch on the side, 0.5 inch at this point, 0.5 inch all the way around at the cup region. Now taking our cup off, you're going to be adding 0.5 inch all the way around at this point. Now for your cup as well, you're going to be adding all the required sewing allowance, which I initially stated earlier on this video. So you're going to be adding 0.5 inch all the way around your yoke, but for the sake of this tutorial, we're not basically going to be working with the yoke. However, in case you want to work with the yoke, you're just going to go ahead to add 0.5 inch all the way around. So for the back pattern as well, whatever you're going to be using as the side seam allowance for your front pattern, you're going to go ahead to use that same value on your back pattern, being 0.5 inch. So that is the basic sewing allowance you're going to be adding at that point for your back pattern. At the hemline of your back pattern, you're going to be adding 0.5 inch all the way around on our pattern. So these are all the required sewing allowances that you're going to be needing. So with this being done, you can see how beautiful our pattern came out looking. So with this being done, we've come to the end of the drafting and the cutting of our transparent dartless sheer corset. Up next on our channel is going to be the sewing part of this beautiful transparent corset. Thank you, and I'm going to be seeing you on my next video. Bye!